it's the first. You just sent this to me while I was on the road. It's okay.
Here, I have an extra copy.
Hey, thank you. Do me a favor. Afterwards, can I just talk to you in the office? Thanks. I'll wait.
Good Shabbos. We're starting. We're starting. Or no? Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 da. Shalom aleichem malachei hasharet malachei elyon mimelech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu boachem leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon mimelech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu shalom aleichem malachei hasharet malachei elyon mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu baruchuni leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon mi melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu tzeitkhem leshalom malachei hashalom מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Each of us enters this sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of peace and gratitude, overflowing with love and joy. They are eager to make the world a better place. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune. We rejoice with them. Some hearts are embittered. Ideals are betrayed and mocked, answers sought in vain. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore our hope and renew our faith. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Allison Warzala, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Anshe Emeth Memorial Temple. I'm so pleased to be able to share Shabbat with all of you here in the sanctuary and those of you who are joining us on the live stream. As the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting cooler, let us welcome the light and feel the warmth of Shabbat as we invite Paula Tardikoff to light the candles and share the blessings with us. They can be found on page 2 and 3 of your prayer book. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue with Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmi'anu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'letiferet ve'litehila לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר על תלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו, קום מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תעריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת Shabbat Kala, Pene Shabbat Nekabela.
We continue with Hatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon u'b'chayer kol beit Yisrael ba'agala ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה בנחמתה דאמירה מעלמה וימרו אמן.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 28.
Yai dai da dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai dai da dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai.
Shabbat Shalom. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. אהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד, מלכותו לעולם, לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם כראשים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא, תהילות תהילות עושה פלא נורא, תהילות עושה ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
Page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Oshmar tzeiteinu uvoenu lechaim uleshalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Page 44. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg v'korei oneg. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Mekareshe mekareshe shevi'i. Kulam yisbe'u v'yit'angu b'tuvecha. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg v'korei oneg. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto chemdat yamim oto karata zecher lema'aseh v'reishit. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg v'korei oneg. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomerei Shabbat. שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתיי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue with silent prayer through page 63, adding the words and meditations of our hearts as we see fit, after which you may be seated.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. I'm wondering, should I do this from this bima or that podium? As I was watching an episode of A Crime Story, the reporter was interviewing different people for their recollections of what they witnessed. It struck me how different were their perspectives. Sometimes they saw two completely different scenes. We see this on the sports field when an umpire, referee, or other official makes a call, and that many in the stands and later the talking heads argue about who was correct. So it is with this week's Torah portion, Parshat Noach, when we have the juxtaposition of two stories. One, the flood story where Noah builds his ark and saves the lives of what will remain of humanity, along with all of the animals. And the second story, the creation and destruction of the Tower of Babel. Why would these two stories be linked together? First, let's take a closer look at the flood story. There are more than 250 cultures with a mythological flood story, and at least 20 of them are directly compared to the Noah story found in our Torah. On close examination, even with our own Torah, there are clearly two parallel stories that are woven together. The documentary hypothesis theory is a theory also known as JEDP. That states that the 5 books of the Torah, consisting of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, were not completely written by Moses, but by different authors. The Yahwist, the way we spell out Adonai's name, the Elohist, as in Adonai Elohim, okay, the Deuteronomist, the ones who wrote the book of Deuteronomy pretty much, and the priestly, the Kohanim, hence JEDP. It's more of a scientific lens we can look through at the stories of what's considered by tradition written by the hand of Moses. We can go back and forth between the J and the P versions of the flood story and see two differing storylines. It was surprising to me when I took a careful look. In the J version, okay, when God, Adonai, said to Noah, "Go into the ark with all your household, for you alone have I found righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean animal you shall take 7 pairs, males and their mates, and on every animal that is not clean, 2, a male and its mate. Of the birds of the sky also 7 pairs, and male and female, to keep the seed alive upon all the earth. For in 7 days' time I will make it rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And I will blot out from the earth all existence that I created. And Noah did just as what God had commanded him to do. Yet 3 sentences later, in the P section, the priestly section, of the clean animals, of the animals that are not clean, and of the birds, and of everything that creeps on the ground, 2 of each, male and female, came to Noah into the ark as God had commanded Noah. We continue with the priestly version. The waters then receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters diminished. They went on diminishing until the tops of the mountains became visible. Then Noah sent out the raven, and it went to and fro until the waters had dried up on the earth. Now we switch to the J version. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and then he sent out the dove to see whether the waters had decreased from the surface of the ground. But the dove could not find a resting place for its foot, and returned to him to the ark, for there was water all over the earth. So putting his hand out, he took into the ark. Took it into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent it out from the ark. The dove came back to him toward the evening, and there in its bill was a plucked off olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the waters had decreased on the earth. He waited still another 7 days and sent the dove forth again, and it did not return to him anymore. So it took 3 weeks for the dove not to return after 3 tries. And the raven? I don't remember learning about the raven in religious school, and I went 3 days a week. There's a lot of counting here. 7 to 40. We see in the Babylonian story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a different telling of the flood story with many similarities, but different motivations. In the paper, Moral and Social Differences Between the Bible and the Epic of Gilgamesh, the author states, one important distinguishing attribute between them is their justification for the flood. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the reason for the flood was not entirely clear, but it was noted that it occurred due to the noisiness from the huge growth in population. The huge population suggested the city was flourishing and developing in a significant way. Enlil was the chief god on earth, residing at Nippur. He found the noise created by them to be unbearable, so he wanted to totally obliterate all of humankind. His reason was founded on selfishness and a clear lack of concern for others other than himself. As a result, the gods created a flood to get rid of all traces of humanity. Although the reason for the flood in the Bible, our Torah, was different, it was also very similar in nature in the sense that it was completely and utterly unjustifiable. In the Bible, God saw wickedness and corruption of his creation and made the judgment to create a flood to get rid of the impurities. His desire to create a flood was founded on the wickedness of human beings on earth and how their every thought and inclination was wicked. We have now landed, literally. Another major focus of the story is the building of the Tower of Babel. In the beginning of chapter 11 in the book of Genesis, in the beginning, we have Noah's descendants spreading out from where the ark landed, and it was pointed out in the text that they had Devarim Achadim, the same language. The story goes on to say that the people said to each other, "Let's make bricks of fire and fire them hard to make them strong, to make a tower that reaches to the sky in order to make a name for ourselves, so we don't have to scatter ourselves all over the earth." The issue, of course, was that God, perceived to have lived in the heavens and post-flood, wanted people to again scatter and repopulate the earth. After all, everything was destroyed, and the idea was to start all over again. recreating humankind to repopulate all the earth. Adonai, the J edition, was focused on humankind and having humankind not make the same mistakes that caused the reason for their destruction. God stepped down to see this tower and seeing that they could do with what they could do with one language, and also seeing where it could lead to in the future as the ego would take over behaviors. And God decided to destroy the tower, confound their speech. That's where we get the Hebrew word Babel or Bavel, and scatter the people all over the earth, fulfilling God's original intent. In a way, the bricks, hardened by fire and strong as could be, were used to be godlike, to reach the heavens, and to again make the name for themselves. It's interesting that the first words of this parsha begin and end with the lineages leading from Adam all the way to Abraham and Sarai, our first ancestral parents. With all these generations playing in a historical game of telephone, it is no wonder to me that different versions of what might have been the same story have been codified even in our sacred texts, because there's really no way for us to fact-check the story. Looking at the stories of our lives today, with the different ways we see climate change, or I dare say the political arena, we have different perspectives of the causes and the motivations as we see catastrophes like the pandemic and its variants, along with the hurricanes and floods that have reached our shores, those of Route 18, and the many impassable streets that became the temporary shorelines in miniature right here in New Brunswick. Things were wicked enough and beyond repair, and God decided to start over, and with regret created a rainbow to signify the promise that the earth wouldn't be destroyed like that again by water. But that doesn't mean there are no punishments. People were valuing the fire-made bricks with the goal of reaching the heavens, yet at what cost? How many people died in creating those bricks? Was the goal of attaining a name at any cost a part of the values that God wanted for us? No. Instead, God destroyed the tower, not the people. Instead, God scattered us and confounded our speech. We couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't scheme to create these big plans and great ideas that were self-destructive to people and ourselves. We had to keep our egos in check. We were now put to the task of learning to speak to each other again in order to learn and to build again once more. I look at the companies that, when they do well, do all the employees and the communities where they operate do as well and share in those successes. Will other companies that are building their metaphorical towers allow everyone to rise with them, or only allow the few to reach the top of the tower for the sake of a name? We have been scattered through the whole earth a very long time ago, but we have been given the lessons in our earliest of stories. Let us hope that we will learn from our own mistakes. Let us keep the visions of our prophets Zechariah and Micah, when on that day God shall be one and God's name shall be one. Shabbat Shalom. Though the time before, I know that come it will, when each nation shall each other bless, and peace the earth shall fill, and God shall reign over the earth. On that day God shall be one, and your name it shall be one. Bayom hahu Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. On that dawn of peace, we'll smash that spear of war, and everyone beneath their vine and fig shall be afraid no more. And God shall reign over the earth on that day. God shall be one, and your name it shall be one. And it shall come to pass that peace is what we'll find. Then we'll join our hands with fellow man across the borderline. And God shall reign over the earth on that day. God shall be one, and your name it shall be one. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad.
We turn our hearts and our prayers towards those in our community who are in need of healing. We express our hopes and prayers for healing for the loved ones on the screen. And if you have any additional loved ones in your heart right now, please say their name as my hand passes you. We continue with Misha Be'erach on page 253.
Misha Be'erach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. El na refana la, el na refana la, el na refana la, el na refana la. Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim.
We rise for the Aleinu on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools, this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched. We turn our thoughts now to those who have recently passed. Many names of those in our community can be seen up on the screen, and I invite you to rise if you are, read these, okay. We mourn Morton Leventhal, brother of Linda Peck, Betty Tauber, wife of Jay Tauber, mother of Mark Tauber, Nikki Tauber, Skip Atkinson, grandmother of Ben and Chloe Tauber, Sabrina and Bren Sturcio, Josh and Ethan Tauber, Jared and Aiden Atkinson, Jake Bayer, Steve Allen Rosenbaum, and Kenneth Sharp. If you are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of grief, I invite you to say the name of the loved one you have lost as my hand passes. And if you are in the first year of mourning, I invite you to share the names of those you've lost. Observing a yard site, or if anyone is on your mind tonight that you'd like to bring into our prayers.
Kenter Brian Miller.
Zikronam Livracha. We continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash me Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hiroteh ve'amlich malchuteh b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayed kol beit Yisrael v'agala v'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam umei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kedusha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Bimru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all those who are bereaved.
Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. We close tonight's service with the singing of Adon Olam, found on page 321. Adon Olam asher malach, haydi 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 hay, beterem kol yetzir nivra, haydi 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 hay, liet nasa bechefso kol, haydi 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 hay, azay melech shemo nikra, haydi 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 hay. ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה היידי היידי היי אדון עולם אשר מלך היידי 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 היי בטרם כל יציר נברא היידי 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 היי להתנסה וחפצו כל היידי 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 היי אזי מלך שמו נקרא היידי 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 היי והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית בלא העוז והמשרה היידי היידי היי אדון עולם אשר מלך היידי 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 היי בטרם כל יציר נברא היידי 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 היי להתנסה וחפצו כל היידי 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 היי אזי מלך שמו נקרא היידי 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 היי והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ביצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא אדון עולם אשר מלך היידי 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 היי בטרם כל יציר נברא היידי 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 היי להתנסה בחפצו כל היידי 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 היי אזי מלך שמו נקרא היידי 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 היי בית אישן ועיירה ועם רוחי וגיב גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אשר מלך היידי 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 היי בטרם כל יציר נברא היידי 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 היי להתנסה בחפצו כל היידי 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 היי אזי מלך שמו נקרא היידי 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 היי.
You may be seated. Before we make Kiddush and Motzi, a few brief announcements. Not this Sunday, but this coming Sunday, October 17th, the Renee Rice and Anita Kaplan inaugural literature series featuring Danny Shapiro will be held at 10:30 a.m. Pre-registration is required to be in person or to be sent the Zoom link. And if you have a teen in your life who might be interested in spending a semester abroad in Israel, please contact the rabbi's assistant, Nancy, about enrolling in Heller High. This will be closed after October 10th. That's this Monday, so make sure to get those emails in soon. And as always, if you are curious about any other programming going on here at Synagogue, please check this week at AEMT for other programs and login information.
And I just want to check if anybody else has other announcements that they want to make quickly. No? Okay. Then we rise again for Kiddush, found on page 4. We rise. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחי לנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
Newman Hagim, I'm from the West Coast.